All right, guys. I have Daire Curley here, Ireland's answer to Wim Hof.
I'll take that. Yeah, fuck it. Great
Yeah,
start.
giddy up, lad. I'll tell you, I've been interested in having you on the podcast for that exact reason. I want to dig into the reasons why you've got into the breath work, and I see a lot of it on your social media. But before we get into any of that, can you just give the outline of who you are and where you're based in Ireland?
Mhm. Yeah, we'll give you the short version because this could go down a rabbit hole fairly quick.
No
But
worries.
yeah, look, I suppose my entrance into the fitness industry started with me getting absolutely sick to the death of being in university in Limerick. I was studying engineering, which is not something I wanted to do. Wasn't even interested in university, to be honest. But the upside of that was there was a really good gym in UL. And instead of going to lectures, I went to the gym. So great decisions were made. That eventually led to me meeting up with one of my mates one day from hometown here in Loughrea, County Galway. And we're having a chat, and he was like, "Geez, did you ever think about competing?" And I was like, "Me on stage in a little thong, tanned up to the tits. Don't know if that's for me, but hey, look, well, I'll never really say no to anything, downsides to that as well." But yeah, he said it, and he was like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'll give it a go." He recommended a coach to me, and he was like, "100%, we're getting you on stage." That led to me about a year later, I suppose. Up to this stage, I've probably been training consistently since the age of like 16, maybe 15, 16 and decided to go up on stage. Did my first junior bodybuilding show in Donegal, just as kind of like a pre warm up, just to get the feel of being on stage. But the end goal was to compete in Miami Pro in the UK. Won the junior bodybuilding, nearly bet my coach, quite crazy at the time. Then went across to the UK to do Miami Pro, won three trophies there, took home everything like junior fitness model, over 75 fitness model, and then overall on the day as well. Crazy experience, absolutely nuts. I was expecting like I'm very much a affirmation or I plan everything out, like visualize it in my head. I expected to go well, but not that well.
Okay.
That then kind of opened up a lot of doors for me in the fitness industry. I suppose propelled me to do another show quite soon after that. I went down the WBFF route and then ended up getting my pro card there as well, quite quickly as well. One of the youngest, I think to this day, I'm still one of the youngest guys to ever get their pro card. I was 21 at the time.
Wow.
And that again just opened all the doors for me. That opened up sponsorships with Optimum Nutrition, with clothing companies. I was able to leave university, which was the big thing for me, and start my online coaching business, which we can talk about later on, I suppose. But that was really my catapult into the fitness industry, quite quickly, quite abruptly, but it all worked out for the best. Couple of years into that, then I packed in the online coaching. Just wasn't particularly for me. And at the time, there was no Kahunas, there was no coaching software, there was no lead, funnels. There was none of that. It was Excel fucking sheets, and I hate the site from still to this day. But that done. I took a bit of a year out to realize where I wanted to go. Do I want to get bigger and go IFBB? Do I want to stick with the WFF and compete at the Worlds and stuff like that? I was unsure, so took a bit of a year out to decide where I wanted to go in general. At this stage, I've been traveling nonstop, so I came back to Ireland, came back to Galway, and that led me to the idea of, what, I think I'd like my own gym and my own studio. So I did that. Again, I'm not really one to sit on things. If I want something, I'll kind of go after it fairly quickly. 7 years later, we're still fully operational. We have a small fitness boutique. And yeah, that has been the staple, I suppose, for the last 7 years. Along the way, sadly, about a year into open up my business, not even, I managed to herniate two discs in my lower back. That pretty much ended my bodybuilding career. Abruptly, it was almost stripped away from me. Very difficult time in my life dealing with that, mentally and physically, naturally. But yeah, what the positives again, I always try to look at the positives and negatives to both things, albeit the bodybuilding career was parked as of that moment. I looked into alternative ways that I could just, reduce my pain levels. Like I was in extensive pain. The doctors were giving me nothing but painkillers and anti-inflammatories. I was on my back basically for close to 6 weeks. Did not move. After opening a new business, the financial pressures that came with that, the level of stress and anxiety, I developed anxiety, which was always kind of in the background, but never there. That just heightened. And with that led to me discovering the Wim Hof method and the benefits that could come along with that, both from the mental side of things and the physical side of things. I started practicing that, started with the breath work just in bed. That led to me then eventually getting into trying some cold showers. I fucking hate the cold, still do, but I did it, pushed myself to do it. And, science, voodoo, doo all that removed. The benefits that I saw personally were enough for me to say, yeah, no, I believe in this, because I'm quite a man of science, as most of us are in the industry. So that led to me then deciding to become a Wim Hof method instructor. So again, about a year, 2 years after that, 2 years probably, I decided to head off to Spain and do my certification, which was a week-long, epic, incredible experience out in Spain, which we can delve into more. That is my kind of long-winded story, I suppose, in a short manner.
Good, good. You were able to rattle it off there. It's funny. I went to Sligo to college, engineering as well. I lasted 2 years,
Yeah,
and I was doing the
same.
very same thing. I was in the gym more than I was in lectures.
Yeah, fact, fact. Let's go things.
Yeah, exactly right. It's funny that. So yeah, you got the injury. You got into the breathwork. Can I ask the experience that was like, right, wow, this is working? Because I've done breathwork myself and followed the Wim Hof videos on YouTube, and my quick little brief experience of it was I was doing it for a month in Melbourne, nothing, not really feeling anything with it, but until one day I was down by the river and I was doing it in my regular spot. And when I'd finished, I remember just looking at the top of the water and just it wasn't a rough day. It was just the water was just moving. It was very gentle. But I remember just focusing on the water and looking at it. And I'm like, in my head, I was like, that water, it looks like the surface of oil or something. And in that moment, I was like, that's the only thing that's in my head right now. It was this blissfully peaceful moment. And it was like, fucking penny dropped with me. I was like, wow, this shit is powerful. So I want to ask you, when you started doing it, what was your moment to be like, this shit is the tits?
Mhm. Quite similar to that. I actually pretty much do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Overactive mind all the time, always have, constantly future thinking, what's next? What do I have to do now? Like my head is just so busy 99% of the time. And it always has been, even looking back now, we're a bit older, so we can look back and say, my childhood was the exact same. I couldn't sit still long enough and my brain was always racing. I'd be sitting in class and try to be in a different world completely. And it was like that. I was lying in bed. It was just after coming across, watched a lunatic sitting in a nice bath, play guitar with the long hair, and he told me to take a couple of deep breaths. And even that, just the whole deep breath and the belly breathing, because I always, as I found out, was just a shallow breather, right? Which heightens our senses. It puts us into our sympathetic state, our fight or flight mode, and it keeps us there. And again, I started to educate myself more on fight or flight, rest and digest. What are these different stages? So just those couple of deep breaths alone, and him telling me on a video, a couple of deep breaths, we'll just calm everything down. That was like, oh, okay, all right. So I looked into more. I downloaded the app, which they have, which is fantastic, and you can actually follow along. There's guided breath work on there. And like that, after I think maybe the second or third round, I almost felt like I just did a workout. First of all, my lungs were like on fire. Now I know is my diaphragm was almost cramping. My abdominal muscles were cramping. What the hell is this? And then just this wave of silence. Like, it's the only way I can describe it, was just complete and utter just silence. That was it. My brain wasn't thinking during the breath work, unconsciously so. All you're thinking about is the breath, because that's all you can focus on, because you want to get the breath so right, or you're counting to those 35 breaths or whatever it is. That's all you focus on. You don't have time, or you don't have the bandwidth to actually focus on everything else. You can just focus on your breath, getting into the belly, feeling your lungs expand, and feeling your back push into the bed or whatever the mat that you're lying on. That's all I was focusing on. And while I was doing that, as well as I was noticing it, the deeper I was going with my breath, the more pain it was triggering on my back. So it's as if when I was taking a breath in, it was going into my lower back, exactly where the pain point was. And it was really strange, because I was like, I'm connecting with the pain. It's like, what's going on here? It's like I can feel it, but I can feel it like as if I can feel the exact disc that the pain is on. And I was like, holy shit. So I guess this is what being present and being in the, being conscious, I suppose, is. And that was it for me. That was like, oh my God. It wasn't so much the pain as such with the breath work. It was like that. It was just the relief of having nothing else in my mind for those few couple of brief minutes. But even those few minutes was more than I'd gotten in my 24 years of life at that stage, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting. And when you were doing that breathing and you were tapping into the pain, was it aggravating the pain, or was it like a sense that, oh, I kind of know where it is? What sort was it? Was it making it worse, or did you feel like it was almost making it better, or just making you aware of it?
I think again, unconsciously in my mind, I kind of thought, I don't know, I heard it somewhere along the way that if you take a deep breath in and let your worries out, that's what was going through my mind. I was like taking freshness in and exhaling the pain away. And that's kind of what it was. It was like I can pinpoint exactly where that point is.
Yeah,
And now every time I exhale, I'm going to imagine I'm exhaling out the pain. So
yeah.
I was breathing into it, giving it life, giving it, freshness, giving it new red blood cells, whatever sort of way I needed to comprehend it in my mind, and then letting everything go with it, the pain, the mental and physical, the stress that came along with it. Just every exhale was just let that shit go.
Okay. Okay. So would you have said, like, obviously you were doing physical therapy as well alongside?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
physio and chiropractic work and my own bit of stretch and mobility type work as well. Yeah.
Okay. And would you have said that the breath work aided in the healing of your back?
I believe so. Yeah, obviously I'm not a psychologist, but I think yes, I think it did. There's a great book, Gabor Mate, "The Body Holds the Score," and that leads into where we are mentally. Usually, our bodies reflect that. Especially when it comes to the gut and all these types of things. So yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that it was definitely like an emotional release, I suppose. And I feel like that I carry all my emotional weight on my back and my shoulders and in my core. 'Cause I don't know if this happens to you, but when you get kind of stressed out or anxious, my stomach goes haywire. Like I get bloating or I get all the other things that I'm not going to mention that come along with that in times of really high stress. So I believe that the body does hold on to that, and it holds on to a certain amount of that tension, whether that be in your muscles, your joints, your bones, whatever, your gut. So I think that's where the breath work really comes into play for me on, an emotional level, but as well as the physical side of things as well. Like that, if I do feel bloated or my stomach is really upset and I come in, it's almost like a massage. If you proper belly breathe, it's as if you're almost massaging your stomach. And that gives me like the physical relief that I need on that given day, as well as the emotional.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And come here, would you say the breath work has changed you as a person from before you started to who you are now?
I think if not just solely breath work, but I think it definitely was a catalyst for me to have those couple of minutes to sit back and be like, right, where am I going and what am I doing? As opposed to just always going. So I think,
Okay.
yes, in one sense, it gave me that space and that time to think and give me the clarity and the focus, I suppose, to just focus on one thing and finish out that thought. Like, I don't know if this happens to you, but you get one thought, but how often do you finish that thought right through to the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's
So
layers.
breathwork for me gives me that thought. Yeah, exactly. So breathwork for me gives me that clear mind that, okay, here's a thought that's coming to my, might be a new business idea, and I'll kind of, something else will come in or something else will distract you and you'll put that to the back burner. You might take a note on your phone if you're, a bit better than I am, as opposed to just letting it sit in the back of your head. But when I get that, usually in the evening or whenever I can, I'll take those 10, 15 minutes, I'll sit down and be like, okay, that thought now. Let's do a bit of breath work. Let's sit with that thought and let's finish that process through in my head to see if it's a good idea, a bad idea, something I want to pursue, something I don't want to pursue. And that's where I use it on a daily basis, at least, anyways.
Okay. And just mentioning in the daily, would you do breath work every day?
Some form of it, yes.
Something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, whether it's Wim Hof method, whether it's the box breathing, whether it's a more intensive warm up for my workout, whether it's oxygen advantage, whether it's I get a blocked nose of some sinus issues. So in the morning time when I bring the dogs out for a walk, I'll do a breath hold and I'll hold my nose and it clears your sinuses. And really handy. I wish I knew this years ago. I had asthma when I was younger and always had sinus issues. So now you walk and you hold your breath. I explain it more if you like, but it's great. It's oxygen advantage,
Yeah,
created by a guy from Galway actually.
really. Really?
Yeah, Patrick McEwen. I probably butchered his surname because I only hear American people saying it. But yeah, he's a Galway man, and it's another form of breath work. I guess it's called Oxygen Advantage. It's a brilliant book. I listened to it and read it a couple of years ago, kind of after the Wim Hof method, and after I was exploring more with breath work. I think it's really important to note that the Wim Hof method may not be everybody's cup of tea, right? The box breathing may not be everybody's cup of tea. Oxygen advantage may not be. So it's to find what you like. It's similar to working out. Some people love bodybuilding style splits. Some people love the cardio. Some people love running. You need to find what you like. There is no one type or one specific style of breath work that will suit everybody. It needs to be what you wanted to do for you, I suppose. And for me, just at that moment in time in my life, I needed a release and I needed a bit of a pain management as well, which came from, the cold exposure, which is part of the Wim Hof method. But now as I'm kind of back, the last couple of years, focusing more on my fitness, and I changed my style of training. I kind of left the bodybuilding style training for a little bit, although it's always pulled me back into it because it's what I love, right? It's what my body is built for as well. I think I'm not built for running. I've got legs that are this length, but they're about that width. So I'm not a runner. We'll just put it that way, right? But obviously I like doing things that I don't like doing because it's good for us. Yeah. So that's when I started to explore more of the oxygen advantage, which is you'll see a lot of high-end, athletes using that. I think I'm not familiar with soccer, but is there Haaland, something like that? Really, very, very famous soccer player. He uses similar techniques in the oxygen advantage. Recently, when Coldplay were playing in Ireland, Patrick McEwen was actually there backstage with Coldplay. He's their breathwork coach. Oh. So he uses it to warm up their vocals, I believe, and to bring them down when they come off stage. So obviously they're hyped up. So yeah, really cool method as well. More geared towards, I suppose, athletic performance, but also it has, kind of the holistic approach to just living healthier as well. But definitely from a performance point of view, anyone who's in the running world or cardiovascular endurance events, something like that, oxygen advantage is incredible. It basically teaches you body to use less oxygen and to be more efficient, basically at lower oxygen levels and higher CO2 levels. Really interesting.
And come here, if you wouldn't mind explaining the technique you said for unblocking your sign. What is that technique? I'm interested.
Yeah, so it's so simple, right? So the oxygen advantage is quite it's similar in some ways to Wim Hof, but not so much as well. It's obviously we always want to be deep belly breathing, right? Always on a daily basis, and we always want to be nasal breathing. Okay, mouth breathing leads to a host of issues like respiratory issues, sicknesses, like our nose, the hair in our nose acts as filters, right, for bacteria and virus and all that sort of thing. And also they've done loads of studies on facial deformities in people that breathe through their mouth from a young age. So lads, if you want that chisel jawline, they breathe through your nose. But yeah, the nose unblocking method is very simple. You take 3 or 4 normal breaths in through your nose. Okay, good deep breaths, but not a big massive breath, just a normal enough breath that you would normally take. And then after 4 or 5 of those, you exhale all the air out, you pinch your nose, and you just walk around for holding it as long as you can. Make sure you're walking or you're moving your head, because the movement essentially, creates that flow within our nose, and it builds up nitric oxide in our nose. And you can actually feel it popping if you hold it for long enough and you pinch it. It's as if your nose is like popping, basically. And then after I do that, maybe 4 or 5 times. So sorry, after you exhale, after you inhale, so you pinch nose, hold your breath, inhale normally. Thereafter, stay walking around, and then do the same thing again. 4 or 5 breaths, pinch, hold for 10 seconds, let's say, and do the same process. And once I do the pinch and the hold for maybe 4 or 5 times, my nose is like completely open. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what it's like breathing through 2 nostrils. Holy shit. It's such a nice feeling.
I'm trying.
Simple as that.
I'm trying that. Because I've one of those people that I snore in my sleep, like the nose has been broken a few times, and I've tried. I'm going to ask you as well. Like I've tried the nose strips and the mouth taping, but I don't feel that they work. Sometimes I just go to bed with the conscience that I keep my mouth closed, and I check with my whoop strap, and there's nights I get good sleep, and there's other nights where I just don't. So just on the nose taping and stuff, is that something that you subscribe to? Do you think it works, doesn't work, or?
I'm sure it works. Again, everyone is has their own, cup of tea. I have tried it. I can't say I benefit massively from it. My sleep didn't seem to be affected. My sleep is really, really good anyways, once I do my breath work. Yeah. But the mouth taping, yes. Yeah, I do that because I was a chronic snorer as well. And I had sleep apnea for a couple of years when I was a bodybuilder as well. I rolled onto my side, I think because my chest was so big, it was like restricting my airways. So I somehow developed sleep apnea. It could be other issues that was underlying there. But I tape my mouth and I have for quite some time now. I don't use any of the fancy tapes or anything. I just literally cut a plaster and just put it over my lips. That's all.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Like, yeah, but that definitely, I feel it definitely stops me from snoring, stops yourself kicking me in the middle of the night, rolling me over. So, benefits are there.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, that's a common thing with bodybuilders because they put on so much mass. Like sleep apnea is a
Mhm.
massive thing in that community. Did you go on a sleep app machine or did you just tolerate it?
Pretty much just tolerated, yeah, because I could have the CPAP machine, I think it was. They did all the tests and everything, but it wasn't quite bad enough to go there. I just noticed every now and again I was just waking up and I was just, Jesus, I was just gasping for a little bit of air. But we're training 3 hours a day as well, so I was like, oh, sure, it's probably that, like. But no, I didn't go on the machine. I saw that they just kind of like, well, you're really big. Like I was 100 and what 15 kilos, and I'm only like 5'11. Like so, there was a lot of mass on me. So I think that was the main issue basically, and cardiovascular fitness probably wasn't the best.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. And come here, what do you weigh now? So we have comparison.
Yeah, 85.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man, that's a mountain of weight, a mountain of difference.
Literally.
Yeah, holy hell. No
Yeah.
wonder you had sleep apnea because that amount of mass going on an 85
Yeah.
kilo frame, holy bananas.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's my normal weight. Like that's me walking around comfortable. I'm not massively lean at that, but I'm comfortable at this weight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, to go up to that it was a lot. Like it was a lot. My body felt it.
Yeah, I bet it did. I bet it did. So come here
Yeah.
to me. You've got into the breathing now, and you've gone down the path, and you feel it's working for you. So what triggered you to say, right, let's become qualified in this? Like what happened there?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a weird one. I think it was just my curiosity for a deeper understanding. And like yourself, I'd never actually been guided in person in breathwork. Like it was always just through the app or through, my own lying down on the floor here and do my own breathwork. But I'd never actually been guided by someone, whether that's a Wim Hof instructor or anybody. I'd never actually done breathwork, which I was like, Jesus, okay. So there was definitely an element of that. I was like, wow, it's like, 5 or 6 days of, breath work every single day, cold exposure every single day. Like, I love adventure. I love doing, I won't call it stupid shit, but I'll call different things, as you know, from our mountain hike with the, 300 liters of water and 50 kilos of ice. I like challenging myself, I suppose. And I've always been that way from a really, really young age. I was like doing something different. I don't really go with the crowd as such. So this was just something different for me and curiosity. I was like, that sounds like, my cup of tea. It was also came at a really good time where it was just super busy in my life. There was a lot going on. But for me, I kind of treated it like, a retreat, because that's essentially what it was. We were fully submerged in the method for a week straight. It was intimidating, to be honest, the thought of it. I'm not quite a recluse, but I'm no mix well at first until I get to really know people. So I wouldn't say I'm a very out there type of person.
Yeah,
So that part was intimidating.
more an introvert.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but there's definitely certain elements of me then where I can just, switch it on and be the complete opposite. I can be the light in the room. So it's yeah, I think when I need to, I can call upon that. But not naturally, I wouldn't be like that. No, it's I have to really force myself out there, give myself a little bit of a pep talk and be like, come on, you need to do this shit.
Yeah.
So definitely curiosity and just the thought of being able to teach that to other people. I think that was a huge part of it. Because with fitness, I love it. Like we're giving people health. Like not many people can actually say that we're making people healthy. Yeah, we're getting them into good shape and we're improving their confidence and everything else. But if you look at just what we do, we're making people healthier. I think that's a power that some people take for granted, even that we're giving so much to a person. And almost we give too much at times as well. We give ourselves to our businesses and to our clients and everything, and we put our own health at the back burner. I think so many coaches across the world do that, and I get it, especially in the earlier stages when you're trying to build up your clientele, build your business, and you've got so many things going on that your own training, it kind of takes a little bit of a backseat, and definitely your own health. You're pulling crazy long hours. You're replying to DMs at 2 a.m. in the morning because the thought of getting a new client is exciting and all these things. but at the detriment to our health, right? So I had done that for quite a long period as well. I'd done that for long enough. This is my chance to give back to me. And with that, I was going to be able to give back to others as well. So a lot of the people in my gym, and a lot of people I work with in general, especially now with the consultancy role that I do, work with super stressed out business people. They're at a constant fight or flight. They're always going nonstop. And I think a lot of people, we don't know how to stop, or it's the fear of stopping. I don't know how many men in my gym in the 40 or 50 bracket have said, oh, I'll never stop, because if I stop, I'll die. You're like, God, that's such a wrong mindset to have, because you're probably just going to die anyways with the level of stress and cortisol and the unhealthy lifestyle that you're living. But, why not milk a few more years out of there, take a back seat now? To be able to give that to people in something that is so digestible, so simple, so quick, so easy. Bear in mind, most of these people as well don't have time. They may have time for a half-hour workout, a 45-minute workout, and they can justify that. But if I tell them that they have to lie on the floor and do some breath work for 30 minutes, they're going, find that shite. That's wishy-washy voodoo shite. But I love changing people's perceptions on that, because that was me. That was exactly breathwork. Here we go, these yoga crowds again, and all these hippies. We're going to have us singing in fields and eating daisies in a few minutes. But it was far from that. It was far from that. When you feel the impact that it has on you, and like that, I love getting lads in now. I'm like, oh, for one, I'll give it a go. So for the crack, like, sure, what's it going to do to me? And at the end of it, they're like, oh my God, what is that? I've never felt anything like that in my life. What's up? Jesus, I feel like my whole body has just gone, phew. And that's exactly what happens. Your body just goes, because you're so up here all the time, and you're at a level playing field. And the emotional reaction that some people have as well is insane. Like, I remember, I think it might have been my second time when I really got into it and really got into the breath work. I started bawling my eyes out, crying. And then I started laughing like an absolute lunatic. And still to this day, I still have certain emotional reactions depending on where I suppose I am at that moment in time. So yeah, that was definitely a huge element of it, being able to show people like the power that this can actually have and what it can actually do for you, as opposed to just being some sort of hippy dippy bullshit. That was definitely what led me to heading out to Spain for a crazy weekend.
Okay, so that's where the retreat was. It was in Spain.
Yeah, northern Spain. So it's kind of, it was right on the border, Merida too. So it's in the Pyrenees.
Okay, very good. So why
not Barcelona, not the sunny Spain, all right? Yeah. Just to clarify that. Not the whole Benidorms and way up north.
Way up north. Yeah, because normally, because I've seen some of the retreats online and videos, like he takes you on a walk up a mountain where there'll be snow or it's cold, or you find an ice pond somewhere and you jump into that. Was that all part of what you done?
No, that's a level 2, or that's a retreat. Yeah, so we can train to bring people on that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So they're the retreats. This is solely just to become an instructor.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, give us the inside scoop. So what was it a part of? Obviously, to take you through some breath work as well, but what were the steps that you had to cross in order, or what was the steps you had to achieve in order to become the instructor?
So you do an online course first of all for about 16 weeks, which essentially was just all science, and like heavy enough science. It was bringing me back to the Leaving Cert days, but a bit more advanced than that, because obviously there is risks associated. And Wim is very much a heavy science man. That's kind of his thing. He didn't want it to be a wishy-washy hippie bullshit. He wanted to have science behind the method that could prove that, well, look, this is what I'll say it does, and now here's the proof. Here's the scientific evidence. Here's all the reports. Here's all the studies that we have done to prove that. That was a huge element of not only the course leading up to us traveling away, but also when we were over there, we had an exam on the scientific studies. And every day they would pick out people to actually come up in front. There's about 50 of us there, I think 50 students as such, and then maybe 7 to 10 other staff members there as well, who were all level 3 instructors. So they were our educators for the week. And every day you'd be picked out from the crowd, and you'd have to stand up in front of everyone and talk about a specific study. That was extremely intimidating. It got you very uncomfortable, obviously, for people who weren't happy or weren't comfortable speaking in front of other people, because that's a huge thing to overcome, public speaking. Not everyone likes that. That was a huge element of it. And then I suppose the element that I found the most difficult was there wasn't really a plan. And I'm a planner. I like knowing what I'm doing when I'm doing it, right? My day is pretty much planned out to a T, maybe a day or two in advance. This was wake up, be down in the hall with the big, beautiful hall, stunning building. You know, it was all timber, gorgeous roof, and then there was a lake over to the side. Stunning location, all mountains up the back. And it was be there for, I think, maybe 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. Don't have any food, but you can have some green tea and water and just be there. Okay, and what's after that? It is what it is. So what's the itinerary? Who knows? Okay, and that was the first day. So I was like, oh, I'm already uncomfortable. I already am just super like, I need to be in control. What's going on? What are we doing when? No, it was just pretty much be prepared for anything. Always have your shorts with you and always have a towel. That was basically it, you know, and have your booklet. Sorry, with a booklet that we were studying out of. Yeah, that was pretty much it. So you never knew what you were doing. Now, kind of followed a similar pattern most days, but still, there was never okay, this is what we're doing today. Or, you know, because you're expecting it. You're waiting for this, like, all right, what's the big challenge here that they're going to give us at the end, specifically with the cold exposure, right? The breath work was every day. And it ranged from 20 minutes. I think one day we were there for an hour. I think that's when I had crazy hallucinations. I went on a really super trippy journey. Which, do you want to pause there and delve into that a little bit?
Yes, please. Yeah, tell me more about this trip.
Yeah, this part it's crazy. It's the first time I've ever experienced it. Like I said, I'd never been guided through breathwork before. I think this was on the third or fourth day, maybe. And at this stage, I was out of my, what is it, shell. You know, I was comfortable with everyone. It was just a super nice environment. Everybody was just chilled, relaxed, but switched on when we needed to be. It was that really nice balance of you switch it on when you need it. You know, getting to an ice bath, you need to be switched on for that, you know, as well as kind of switched off. But yeah, we'll get to that. But you need to be in the moment when you're in the moment, right? And I think that was the whole mantra of the week was just be here, just be present. That third and fourth day, I was totally in that. I was submersed in this environment and everything that goes along with it, the community, the people. It was just bliss. And same story, come down to the hall that morning, 7:30, had a bit of green tea. I can remember everything I did about that day, actually. I was chatting to a couple of guys before we went in. Oh, I wonder what's in store for today, the usual chat. Went up the stairs and there's, you know, it's a big, massive hall. So there's 50 of us in a room all doing breath work. So I know it's something you've never experienced, but even if you do breath work in a room with 20 people, it's super powerful. It's as if the whole place is breathing. It's as if the roof is lifting off every time you exhale and inhale. And on this particular day, I got a good night's sleep and I was in it. I was like all in. There was nothing else going on except my breath. I didn't even have to think about my breath. My body just went completely into, you know, rhythm. It just did it. I didn't have to count. I didn't have to do anything. And after I think third round, the hand twitching and all that stuff, that's normal. That nearly always happens, right? You get a little bit twitchy, the eyes might start going and stuff, the body might start twitching. But on that round, we were just after completing our 35 breaths and exhaled. About 15 seconds in, I would say, my whole body just started levitating. Obviously I wasn't, but what it felt like is I was levitating off the ground. But I could feel everyone around me and I was somewhat present. And then all of a sudden, it's as if someone just grabbed me and just went and threw me into another world. And it's going to sound very strange now, right? I wasn't high. I wasn't on any drugs or nothing like that. This was purely just breath, okay? And all of a sudden, I was a wolf running with 3 other wolves through a forest that was snowy. I could feel the coldness in my paws at the time. I could feel everything around me. I could feel the wolf beside me as their fur, you know, glided off mine. And it was just the most blissful experience I think I've ever had in my entire life. It was just complete peace until I jumped off a hill and there was I was a grey wolf and then there was a white wolf and a brown and a black wolf. With the fact I have 3 dogs and a fiance, I don't know. There's no real explaining behind it. And then I jumped off what I thought was, you know, a cliff or a mountain at the time. I just went down and died. And then as I hit the ground. I felt it in my body. My whole body jumped. And then it's as if my human body left the wolf, I guess. That's the only way I can describe it. It's kind of hard to describe, but that's literally the best way I can describe it. It's as if with that jump, my whole body just left the wolf and I just woke up. And I was just there in the room, still a bit dizzy or like spaced out, but that was it. It's as if someone just like banged me back into that room, just threw me back down again. I was like, yeah, okay, you're back. And that was a crazy, trippy, insane experience.
That is awesome. Come here. What do you think that represented to you? Have you thought about that? Or I'm sure you have, but what do you think that all represented?
I don't know. I kind of looked into it, but then I was like, you know what? Let's not do that because that's what I would normally do. I'd research the hell out of it. I'd go down a rabbit hole. I was like, you know what? Just let it be. Just let it be an experience. Why do we need to know what it was for?
Okay.
You know, and that was again what I learned over there is like what'll be is what'll be. Just just let it be. That's it. You don't have to know everything. We don't have to look into everything. We just need to just feel it, digest it, internally, and then just let it go, pretty much, which is one of Wim's favorites, methods, words, phrases. Let it go.
Let it go.
That's it.
Okay.
So I don't quite know what it was.
Yeah. Have you ever taken like hallucinogenics in any way before?
Nope. Smoked a bit of weed in college, but nope.
Yeah. So never experienced hallucinations like that.
No, never.
Wow.
No.
That is.
No, I have since.
Oh.
Since doing breathwork. Sorry, not the drugs, but since doing breathwork. Yeah, I have since, and I can kind of mimic it. Okay. Not to the same level, I would say. Like I can picture it and visualize it and see different colors and I kind of go to different places, but never inside an animal or anything like that. That was just that one time.
Yeah, it's a different hallucination each time, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Now it's a lot of colors, a lot of different colors coming at me as if I'm in a tunnel and there's just like really bright colors coming at me. Yeah, it's like what are those things that you look into and you
the fractals. Yeah. And they spin the wheel on it. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like a DMT release from your pineal gland that you're having that's allowing you to have those hallucinations?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is because that is the one part. Obviously, I know about ayahuasca and DMT and all these different things from Joe Rogan or listen to various podcasts. So it sounded just like that, pretty much. Yeah, it sounded not to the same extent, maybe, but definitely. If you look at it, it definitely was some form of a DMT style trip, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I've done a fair bit of DMT myself and like peyote and mescaline, and I haven't done ayahuasca yet, but DMT is the main ingredient in ayahuasca. But I've had one very profound trip that I met this entity in it, and the entity was clearly a man with a beard, but it wasn't like a human face. It was all like these shapes that molded together into a person, and I could make out that it was a man. And I remember it reaching out its hand to me, and it was like, it said, "Shake my hand and promise me we'll move on." And I'm like, what? And because I was sitting on an armchair at the time, and my mates were with me because we were trip sitting one another, and they said I kept lifting my hand, but in my hand I was like, let go what, like what's going on here? And I didn't shake its hand because I didn't know what I was agreeing to. So, and I was kind of scared at the time as well, but then as the trip dissolved away on me, I came back and I was like, what the fuck was that? Now, for me, I did sit with it for a long time, and at the time I was going through a very turbulent relationship that was breaking on, breaking off, and that we ended up finishing that relationship after going through couples counseling and whatnot. But when I look back at that trip, I met myself. Because it was a bearded man. I met myself, and I was trying to say it. Well, this is what I believe. I was trying to say to myself, it's time to move on. It's time to move away from that relationship, because that was stewing through my head. We had gone back and forth, but that's how what I feel it was at that time. It was my deeper subconscious knowing that the decision was made, and it was reaching out to him and say, "Come on, like, promise we were going to move on. There's better for you in this world." And
Hmm.
it did. We did move on, and I am better for it now. But it was, yeah, it was an unusual thing. There's a strong place in my heart for those hallucinogenics that do kind of show you things. Like it's a respect I have for these things. I don't think you can just take them willy-nilly. It's not like a party drug. You take it in as a respected thing. But I have heard about people having these experiences through breath work.
Hmm.
And you
Yeah.
speaking of your story here you've kind of excited me now even more to go further down the rabbit hole of breathwork, because you know to be able to access that without the
Hmm.
substance, that's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, another thing Wim says is get high in your own supply because it literally is like you're high most of the time. Yeah. Especially after breathwork, if you do a really good hard session, I'm just floating. Like I'm just smiling, I'm laughing, I'm, just a different type of person that may have walked into this room here. I do it literally right here beside my desk. I'm a different person when I walk back out there. It's
Wow.
just you're more present, you're more alert, you're just yeah, it's a hard way to describe, but it's just as if everything is kind of lifted, I suppose. As in your mood, your energy, but your body is just more relaxed. And you'd love halotropic breathwork. I don't know if you've ever heard of halotropic.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I don't know much
Yeah.
about it. Is
Yeah,
that specific
that's
for
DMT tripping basically. Yeah.
right? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
super intense. I haven't had the joy of doing it yet, but one of my good mates, Jason, who was actually funny enough, we didn't know, but we ended up becoming instructors together. He's from Galway as well. He traveled out at the same time. We didn't know literally till I think maybe 2 days before. He's like, "Oh, you're going?" We're like, "Yeah, we're going." It was good old fun. But he has done the holotropic, and he said it's super intense. And one of my clients has done it recently as well. It just kind of similar story to yourself actually. He's in just a really shitty place, just a bad place, and just needed something to digest his thoughts, I suppose. That's a 3-day retreat they did in the west of Ireland, done in Westport, I believe it is. And it's changed him. He's literally a changed man. He's had, similar to yourself, he's had those realizations he needed to have. He's changed a lot of things, and just happier for it. And he's booked in for another one, I think, in like a couple of months' time for his like birthday as a gift to himself. But that's super intense. It's something I will do at some stage, because that essentially is you're just breathing as hard as you can for hours, and there's like trance music, and yeah, it's a different type of experience, but definitely something you sound like you would love.
Okay, I'll give it a so holotropic. Holotropic is what you said.
Holotropic. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll give that a gander. Fair enough. So you've had your experience. You're still in the course.
Mhm.
What happened from then?
Yeah, that was the kind of start of me really opening up and really just letting go.
Okay.
Just letting go of everything. I was no longer Dara the bodybuilder, Dara the fitness coach. I wasn't that. I was just Dara. People just got to know me because there's people from all over the world, Australia, America, Canada, UK, you name it. There was every sort of national, Tahiti, really nice dude from Tahiti for there. Everybody just came to that place for the one thing, which was to learn this method and to get better at it and to teach it to other people. So you very rarely have a time in your life where you're with that amount of people that all have a similar journey or similar mindset that they want to get to, because it's the more we spoke about it and the more we got to talk to each other. They were very good at doing that as well, of building this really cool community. There was 50 of us, but we were broken down into 4 groups. And with that, you were given like a lead instructor, and they were so good at getting us to know each other. Like I probably know things, and people out there know things about me than more than my family do, because you're so open. There's no judgment. You just say it, and you just become you, which is difficult nowadays. With all these personas that people, some people have to put on, some people want to put on. So it was refreshing, I suppose, to be able to just be me. Be my wacky, you know, self, I suppose. So that was really nice to experience. And then from there, I suppose the biggest challenge of the week was the ice bath. There was an ice bath every day. You got cold every day. Whether that was they had a big pool and it was a kiddie's pool beside it, so they filled that with like I don't know, like 500 kilos of ice every day. And there's about 7 or 8 of us that would sit in there. And again, they would give you different challenges. You have to sit in it for, a minute and a half or whatever it needs to be. And we would, during this, one group is acting as instructors and the other group is acting as participants. You got to feel like exactly what that is. If you're becoming a personal trainer, for example, it's like you taking a person through a session, right? So to put you in those situations, it created some issues that may arise. So you just felt more comfortable with teaching people. And then I think maybe second or third day as well, they got us into this lake, the coldest body of water I've ever experienced in my life. Mike, I've never experienced that level of cold in a natural body of water. Fair enough, like an ice bath or something with moving water. It was a different level of cold, but it was the water coming down off these mountains that were covered in snow. So it was proper cold. And that was really cool. We all got together in a big group of 50 people, all joining shoulders in the middle of the stunning lake, mountains to your left and right, and we're all humming and chanting. And again, it was like the water was just vibrating our noise. The energy was just incredible. That was another day. And then the biggest challenge, I suppose, towards the latter end, which was the test as such. This was this is the test now to see how long can you last in the cold. You have to get in for 2 minutes, and we do what's called a horse stance. It's a natural way of warming back up. It looks quite unusual. It's all about just getting down into, you're like a mid squat, I suppose. So you're building up heat internally within the body. Really good way to warm up, by the way, if you're ever freezing cold. You look like a bit in Egypt, but it works. Yeah. And that was the thing. We couldn't do the horse stance. We would always do the horse stance to warm up, right? So you had to get into the water, freezing cold, 8 of us in the ice bath, get back out and just stand. You couldn't even towel down. You just had to stand and just let the cold air, it was probably at this stage, probably maybe 1 degree, 2 degree air temperature. So to let that cold air just, hit you. I need to get back in. I need to do the same thing and get back out and back in and back out and back in and back out. And me being the macho man, everyone's like, oh, he's going to last all day long. He can stay going. And I suppose this was this.
Ooh. Hold on, Daire. I've lost you.
In the timing, whatever.
Hold on, I lost you. Yeah, I lost you there for a second, but you're back now. You're back. Yeah. So
yeah, I was just saying I could easily stay in that ice bath all day long, right? I could easily beat people and do the best time and all that thing, But something happened in my mind. I don't know what it was, but it was just like, I don't need to. I have nothing to prove to no one. Why would I do that? Is there a need to do it? Am I just trying to inflate my ego? I know I can do it. So why do I need to display that? I don't know what it was, but I went over and I was the first one out, by the way. I did like 3 or 4 rounds. That was it. Everyone else went for 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 rounds. And I walked over to Daniel, who was our lead instructor. He was over our group. And I said, Daniel, I don't think I need to do it. So I think I've proven myself to you and to everyone this week that I am what I am. And you all know I can do that. I know I can get in there all day long, but I don't feel like I have to. And he was like, congratulations, you're an instructor. And that was basically it. Yeah. Coolest experience of my life. That was it. Yeah, he was like, you basically embodied exactly what we tried to get across. It's about pushing yourselves when you need to or when you have to or you want to, but you don't always have to. You don't always have to prove yourself to people. It's kind of like ego death, I suppose. And he was like, yeah, go towel down, mate. Congratulations. Well done.
Well, I was going to say, like the hallucination that you had about the wolf, like maybe the wolf represented your ego and you jumping off the cliff and then your body getting pulled out. Like, fucking.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be reading into things, but like it.
Yeah, no, you could be right. Yeah.
That sounds pretty fucking cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That was my biggest takeaway from the week. Obviously, I got certified and everything else, and some people didn't because they pushed it too hard, and that was the other side of it as well. Some guys pushed it way too hard in the ice bath. They wouldn't have got hypothermia, but they would have pushed their bodies beyond what we would recommend as safe, and they didn't. They pulled them out and said, no, that's not what the method is, Okay. So it was finding that balance, but that was a super powerful moment for me. That was like, holy shit, right? I've been doing this my whole life. I've been trying to prove something to everybody my whole life. I am good enough. I'm big enough. I'm strong enough. I have enough money. I have enough wealth. I have enough all this stuff, but really no one actually cares, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, as long as I'm happy within myself, which is what that week pretty much displayed to me. It was like, yeah, I'm all right with myself. I'm cool. I got some flaws. We all got flaws, but for the most part, I'm a good human. I want to help people. And, that's really the most important thing, isn't
Shit, Dara, that's powerful. That's,
it?
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
For that
Highly
alone.
advised.
Yeah, I think for that alone, man, that's unbelievable. How many people are living their lives just constantly chasing, constantly trying to prove, constantly looking for people to be proud of them, constantly looking for that validation. That's the way I lived that way for so long. And what you've just described there, that sounds like such a fucking release.
Yeah. Massively so. Yeah. I came home on that plane, like literally 100 kilos lighter.
Wow.
The weight on my shoulders I've been carrying around for years just went done. That's it. Yeah. So incredible experience. You can do these retreats obviously with Wim and with the instructors. Highly advise anyone who's even on the fence or even who's thinking about it or just for a break. It is a life-changing experience. I don't say that lightly because you don't have many of those, but it is a life-changing experience. And I highly advise anyone who wants to go on the retreats. Usually they're done across Poland and stuff like that. They're incredible. Absolutely incredible. If it's anything like what I experienced, which it will be, it's a similar experience, probably even more profound and more powerful because you're jumping off waterfalls. You've seen those ones into the ice baths into the cold water, and then you're climbing a mountain with just a pair of shorts and stuff like that. So those experiences are okay, once in a lifetime. You can do it every year, but I believe that the impact that it will have on you both mentally and physically that first time around, it's going to change a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing stuff. That's amazing stuff. People do need a little bit of shunting from their situation. I,
Yeah.
I don't know if we know that we need this at times because we just get caught
Mhm.
up in the chase, and oh, what's the next thing? And
Yeah.
I never really sitting in the moment and just taking that minute because it is that just constantly chasing. But if anyone is listening to this, let this be your call to like if you want to experience something like Dara, just pause for a second. Just take a minute and just sit in it. Sit in you for a moment and just take a breath.
Literally just take a deep breath. Yeah. 5 of them. And that's it. You're back. Just focus on your breath. Try only think about the air that's going into your mouth, down to your lungs and into your belly and back out again. You can do that, which is not easy, by the way. That takes practice for anyone who's overstimulated and always thinking and always going. That's not an easy thing to do. It sounds easy, doesn't it? Just sit there and just take a couple of deep breaths, but focus on your breath and focus on that alone and give yourself that couple of seconds of just respite from your brain. It's actually quite difficult to do. Easier said than done.
I know, good man. Yeah, yeah. And come here, what would you say are some of the myths associated with breath work that people be like, oh yeah, no, maybe this, maybe that. What would you say are the main myths around it?
I think that every experience is a trippy experience. It's not, but it doesn't necessarily need to be, right? Well, not for me anyways. It doesn't. I don't want to be tripping balls every day. I'm happy enough to do it every now and again. On the weekend is when I'll go deep. I'll take 45 minutes on a Saturday morning or Sunday or something. That's when I'll go into my deep experience. But every day it's like 10, 15 minutes a day. You don't need to spend an hour doing this. You can if you have an hour. By all means, go for it. The more, the better. But if you have 10 minutes or 50 minutes a day, even just 5 minutes for some box breathing, that is going to impact how you feel. It's going to impact your core. It's going to take you back out of that. It's going to just calm your CNS right down. So yeah, one of the things is, do I need hours to do it? And with the ice baths, a big one is the longer the better, right? We all think, oh yeah, should I do longer? It's going to be better for me. And while, yes, if you build that tolerance up, again, similar to exercise, you're going to go running at 50K in the morning, you're going to start with, 500 meters, 1K, so on and so forth. Cold water is the exact same. Okay. It can be dangerous. Absolutely. It's cold water. It's sending your body into a shocked state, So take that step by step. And don't just assume that the colder and the longer, the better, right? 3 minutes at below 14 degrees. Our showers are in Australia, so your showers are probably warmer. But in Ireland, most of the time, if you flick it on to cold, it's probably at like 12, 13 degrees. So that is more than enough. You're standing under that for 3 minutes, you will get all the benefits from cold exposure from just doing that. So you don't need to go searching for crazy cold water. If you want to build up to that, do it, but doesn't need to. You still get the benefits from that.
Yeah. Okay. And would you recommend, or how often would you recommend during the week to do a cold exposure, or is there an allowance? Would you do it every day, or would you do it like once or twice a week?
Yeah. I keep it to roughly like 11 to 15 minutes a week.
Okay.
So I just break that down basically. Like most mornings, if I'm having a warm shower in the morning, I'll flick it to cold for the last 30 seconds to a minute, or vice versa. I'll start cold and I'll flick it to warm. Cold exposure, it's cold exposure, right? It can be, now it's getting a bit colder in Ireland this time of the year, going for a walk outside in a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, cold exposure, right? Most runners or most outdoor endurance athletes will have a naturally higher tolerance to cold because they're exposing themselves to cold temperatures when they go jogging in the winter. People who play sports, field sports, for example, they're out in all elements of all times of the year. So they will have a naturally higher tolerance to colder temperatures, right? And they will be able to last in colder conditions for longer, which has huge amount of health benefits to that. But cold exposure is what you make it. Sea dips is the big thing here in Galway and Saltill. We're so lucky to have it. It's a thing year round. It's Coldtober at the minute. So it's just about finding, I suppose, something that is safe and something that you probably won't enjoy it as such, but something that brings you into a community, I think makes it a lot easier. I do most of my cold exposure on my own because I do it at crazy hours in the morning. Ain't nobody going to meet me in Saltill at 5 a.m. Maybe in summer, but not going into winter. Winter now is when I start my cold dips outside again.
Okay.
And finding some people that can join you along with that. Also, it's safer, of course. But again, no more than go to the gym. If a couple of lads are like, come on, get out of bed, folk, let's go down to the sea. Let's go for a dip before we start into work. Brilliant. Like you just feel like a different person going into that day. It's like you've already overcome something that day. Like you got out of bed at whatever, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, doesn't matter. The thing that matters is you got out of the bed and you did something that you didn't want to do that was actually difficult. Very difficult to get into cold water, especially in the morning because our body temperatures are higher after sleeping. And then you get into cold water. That's not easy to do. So that is an automatic win for the day. You crave now, okay, well, what else can I do now for the day? And then like that in the evening time, I use my breath work to bring me back down.
Very good. Very good. It's it's building community, right?
Yeah,
And
big
then,
time.
and then just having the challenge of the cold, and yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I was going to ask you what would be a good way to start that, but I think you've kind of answered it. Join a community because it's very popular at home now at the moment. When I was back there, obviously Eamon Gleason and Graham that have Contrast Wellness that have the sauna and then the ice baths as well, and that's become so popular at home, so popular.
Yeah, massively so, and thank God because it's the health benefits are there, like the research and the studies are there. Dr. Susanna Soberg, she's fantastic. I believe she's from one of the Scandinavian countries. She's done a huge amount of research on cold exposure and heat exposure on both. So your saunas and your cold water and the health benefits that come along with that. They're incredible. And she's got a very good book as well. Very good resources from her. That's where I get kind of the recommendations, I suppose, from her with the heat, especially because sauna is another thing that I do kind of infrequently, but definitely feel the benefits of that just from muscle soreness and just a release. But also the health benefits that come along with that. They're incredible. I'm not a biohacker, but I do believe in, because that biohacking thing kind of annoys me, to be honest. The whole optimal living next to impossible. But if you can do certain things like that in your life, you can implement a little bit of cold exposure, a little bit of heat, a bit of exercise, eat well. All those things are only possible though without working on your sleep. Right? Without sleep, we don't have the drive or the whereabouts or the motivation to do these things. So if you can work on a couple of those elements within your week or your month or your life in general, you will be a happier person and you will be a healthier person ultimately. And I think that's what everyone should be chasing: health and happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, what you've just said there about the sleep, you hold sleep in very high regard.
Yeah, it's number one for me. Yeah, because I neglected for so many years. Like as a bodybuilder, I'll sleep when I'm dead. That was my motto, back in the day. It was like, right, I need to get up and do my 4 a.m. fasting cardio. I need to go to the gym at 10 o'clock at night because that's when it's empty, and I'll do my, cardio then as well. And, I'll go at 8 a.m. and you're just always going, and your body doesn't want to sleep because you're so overactive all the time, that sleep isn't a priority. But really, we look back and I was like, imagine if I slept properly for those 3 years, how much bigger would I be? If I just focus on it, because obviously you're not recovering. Like when we build muscle, essentially, is when we sleep. So it's very hard to make progress if your sleep isn't there. And something that I work really heavily on with my members in my gym and with people that I work with in general is that, get your sleep in check. Let's focus on that first. But what can help sleep by actually being exhausted through exercise, right? If you're that exhausted from exercise, you're going to sleep. Chances are it may not be the best sleep, but it'll be better than what you're having. Eating well, drinking water, small things can lead to a better sleep, and turning off the phones obviously as well. It's definitely a big one. But getting yourself into a space to sleep. That's where I do my breath work before I go to bed. Not intensive, just a little bit of, okay, day's over. Let's bring it down. Body's all good. This is after a couple of hours on the couch with yourself. May have a beer or something like that. And now it's just like, right, complete switch off. Couple of breaths, lying in bed, feel the cushion, feel the pillow, feel the breath going in. And then I usually just, that's it. That's me. I'm done.
And you're coming from the person that would have been an overthinker and the brain yeah, okay, because
and still am, don't get me wrong, I'm not like that's just who I am, I think, but I use breathwork as my tool to take me back out of that when I need to or when I want to.
Yeah, brilliant. So do you offer breathwork workshops for anyone that will be listening now that'll be like, Daire's got my interest. How do I find him? Or where can I track him down? Do you offer that sort of service?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my DMs are always open. I do it online because a lot of people that follow me are all over the world, so it is possible to do breathwork online, like we're doing now through Zoom. And we should have a couple more workshops coming up in Ireland and in the gym in the next few months. We did an incredible retreat there last month of September, I think. In August, September. Really cool experience. We brought in, I think it was like 10 or 12 people to a gorgeous house down in the west coast of Ireland in the Burren. They've got an outdoor cold pool. So that was such a huge success. There was so much interest. I didn't even get a chance to get back to everyone. We'll definitely be doing one of those. The dates should be released over the next couple of weeks. They're limited, but it's a really cool experience. Like it's super cool. And it's beside a chocolate factory. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Brilliant. Yeah, I did actually see that on your Instagram, and it looked awesome. It looked absolutely awesome. Yeah. So, Daire, if people are wanting to look you up on Instagram, what is your handle? How would they find you?
Yeah, that's Daire Curley, spelled Daire Curley.
Perfect. Well, Daire, you've given me a wealth of knowledge, and you've definitely encouraged me to go further down the breathwork wormhole. So I thank you very much for being on the podcast today. It's been awesome.
My pleasure. Happy breathing, man.
Giddy up.